All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your blessings.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. This is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from Atlanta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, all glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Please, Mataji, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Goli Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shamagari Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. I offer my obeisances to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Arun from West Bengal.
Hare Krishna, I am Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Charu from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Charu Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Aji Prabhuji is not on the call yet. You can continue with introductions.
Yeah, do we have any more introductions?
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My Dandavat Pranam to you and to the all assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Shri Ram, Sita Ram, विवाह की बहुत बहुत बधाई हो माता जी। श्री बांके बिहारी के प्राकट्य दिवस जो कि इंडिया में बहुत धूमधाम से मनाया जा रहा है, उसकी बहुत सभी डिवोटीज को बहुत बहुत बधाई माता जी। हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna Puja Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. And thank you for sharing the information as well, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Anita Ramya from Sharjah.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We're extremely fortunate to have His Grace Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji here with us today. And Prabhuji would be enlightening us by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, and verse 44. Hare Krishna, Radhika Vallabha Prabhuji. Danvat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving us your valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीर्वुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदा सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So we are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 4, entitled The Hamsagurya Prayers, text number 44. Pritoham te prajanat yattesyo'd brahmanam tapah mamaisha kamo bhutanam yadbhuyasurvibhutayah. Are you able to hear me without interruption?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you, but your video is frozen, Prabhuji.
Okay. In case there is a problem in audio, then you can let me know and switch off the video.
Sure.
Word to word translation. Preetah, very much pleased. Aham, I, te, with you. Prajanatha, working a population. Yet, because te, your, of this material world. Ud brahmanam tapa, ud brahmanam, causing increase. Tapa, austerity. Mama, my, yesha, this, kamaha, desire. Bhutanam, of the living entities. Yet, which, bhuyasuhu, may there be. Vibhutayaha, advancement in all respects. Translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Prajapati Daksha, you have performed extreme austerities for the welfare and growth of the world. My desire also is that everyone within this world be happy. I am therefore very pleased with you because you are endeavoring to fulfill my desire for the welfare of the entire world. Purport. After every dissolution of the material cosmos, all the living entities take shelter in the body of Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. And when creation takes place again, they come forth from his body in their various species to resume their activities. Why does the creation take place in such a way that the living entities are put into conditional life to suffer the threefold miseries imposed upon them by the material? Here the Lord says to Daksha, you desire to benefit all living entities, and that is also my desire. The living entities who come in contact with the material world, for the threefold miseries imposed in the material world, are meant to be corrected. All living entities within the material have revolted against the Supreme Lord, and therefore they remain in the material world as ever conditioned. Take birth again and again. Of course, but nevertheless, the condition not take this ability in a life environment, and thus by birth and death again and again. This is the law of nature. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Hyesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mamevaye Prapadyante Mayam Yetam Tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mamaivamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manashashtani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entities struggle for existence within the material world is due to his rebellious nature. Unless a living entity surrenders to Krishna, he must continue this life of struggle. The Krishna consciousness movement is not a fad. It is a bona fide movement intended to promote the welfare of all conditioned souls by trying to elevate everyone to the platform of Krishna consciousness. If one does not come to this platform, he must continue in material existence perpetually, sometimes in the upper planets and sometimes in the lower planets. As confirmed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kabu Swarga Utaya, Kabu Narake Dubaya. The conditioned soul sometimes descends into nescience and sometimes gets some relief by being relatively freed from it. This is the life of the conditioned soul. Prajapati Daksha is trying to benefit the conditioned souls by begetting them to give them a life with a chance for liberation. Liberation means a surrender to Krishna. If one begets children with the purpose of training them to surrender to Krishna, fatherhood is very good. Similarly, when the spiritual master trains the conditioned souls to become Krishna conscious, his position is successful. If one gives the conditioned souls a chance to become Krishna conscious, all his activities are approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is extremely pleased, as stated here. Following the examples of the previous acharyas, all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should try to benefit the conditioned souls by inducing them to become Krishna conscious and giving them all facilities to do so. Such activities constitute real welfare work. By such activities, a preacher or anyone who endeavors to spread Krishna consciousness is recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the Lord Himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita, Ya yadam paramam guhyam madbhakte shvavidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mame vaishyat asamshayah nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschin me priyakritamah bhavita nachame tasmat anya priyataro bhuvi. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there one more dear. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from the 6th canto, chapter 4. After Daksha Prajapati worshipped the Lord by offering Hamsa Guhya prayers, Lord has appeared in front of Daksha Prajapati, and Lord Vishnu is expressing his pleasure towards Daksha Prajapati. So I'll go through the words. Pritoham te prajanata. He's addressing Daksha Prajapati by the word prajanata. O master of progeny, O Prajapati. Aham te pritaha. So, whenever we study a shloka in a Sanskrit, what we do is a anvaya of the shloka. Anvaya is basically rearranging the shloka in such a way that in the form of a sentence, in such a way that the meaning is easily understood. So, aham te pritaha. That means I am pleased with you. What is the reason? Yatte asya udbrahmanam tapaha. So the anvaya of the shloka is that aham te pritaha. I am pleased with you. Yatte tapaha. Asya udbrahmanam. Because your tapasya, te means your tapasya, asya means this universe. Udbrahmanam. Udbrahmanam means what? Udbrahmanam means for the increase of the universe. That means for the increase of the population. So, yatte tapaha asya udbrahmanam. So because your tapasya is directed towards the increase of the population of the universe. And mama yeshaha kamaha. That is also my desire. Mama yeshaha kamaha. What is my desire? That Lord, what is his desire? He expresses clearly. Yat bhutanam vibhutayah bhuyasuhu. Bhutanam vibhutayah bhuyasu. That is the saying that mama yeshaha kamaha. And your desire is also the same desire. Therefore, I am pleased with you. Aham te pritaha. So, in the first line, aham te pritaha, te has the meaning of tubhyam. I am pleased with you. And then the word yat te tapaha, that means there the word te means your tapasya. So your tapasya is directed towards the increasing the population of the universe. Asya udbrahmanam. Asya means idam vishwasya. Udbrahmanam. And mama yeshaha kama. That is also my desire. What is my desire? Bhutanam vibhutayah bhuyasu. I'll just go through some of the commentaries. Many of the commentaries give the almost same meaning, but I'll just go through two commentaries. One is Anvitartha Prakashika of I think Gangesh Padhyaya. And then another commentary by Vishnu Chakravartipad. So almost, so Vishnu is saying that Prita iti, He Prajanata, O Prajapati, Yat Yasmat, Yat means because, Te tapaha, that means your tapasya, Asya, that means Vishwasya, Udbrumhanam, Vriddhikaram iti, Vriddhikaram asti, because your tapasya is going to increase the population of the universe. Therefore, aham te pritaha, I am pleased with you. Te pritaha. Bhutanam vibhutayah. Vibhutayah means what? Samruddhi adayah. Bhutanam vibhutayah bhuyasuhu. Iti yat yesha eva mama kamaha. My desire is that the living entities should prosper. Bhutanam vibhutayah. So the prosperity means in all respects. They should get prosperity while living this world, and they should attain the ultimate liberation. They should come back to me. They should come back to Vaikuntha. That is my desire. Bhutanam vibhutayah samruddhyadayah. Ataha mat kama purnat. Because my desire is satisfied, so therefore pritosmi, therefore I am pleased with you. Or another meaning is that asya vishwasya udbrumhanam yatte tapo abhut yesha mama eva kamaha. So the increase in the population of the universe is also my desire. Therefore, mama ichaya eva tava tapasiddhihi ityartha. Therefore, by my desire, your tapasya became successful. Why? Because your desire to increase the population is also my desire to increase the population in the universe. Because it is my desire, therefore your tapasya became successful. Tava tapa siddhihi iti arthaha. Kama swarupa maha. So in that way, Vishnu Chakravartipad gives just almost the same commentary. So I'm not going to repeat it. He gives almost the same words only, same meanings. So Prabhupada is writing a very beautiful commentary. So we see the purpose of the creation of the material world and the increase of the living entities is that to give the living entities an opportunity, to perfect their life. The living entities, they want to enjoy independently from Krishna. So the creation is the world is created to give an opportunity for the living entities to enjoy independently from Krishna. And then when they try to enjoy independently from Krishna, they get frustrated, so that they get a lesson. They learn the lesson of surrendering to Krishna. So that is the purpose of the creation. So therefore, anybody who actually assists the Lord in that, in creating this universe, in increasing the living entities, Lord becomes pleased with it. Even in the third canto, Krishna expresses his pleasure towards Lord Brahma. Nana karma vitanena praja bhakvi sisrikshataha natma vasidat asmimste varshiyan madanugraha. Lord Vishnu is, Krishna is telling to Brahma, in desiring to create many offspring, while engaging in various actions, nana karma vitanena, your mind na atma avasidati, your mind will not become degraded. Rather, my mercy to you will increase. Varshiyan madanugraha. My mercy to you will increase. So we can see one stark difference between the psychology of God presented in the Abrahamic scriptures like Bible, and contrast that with the psychology of God presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the Bible also talks about lots the creation, and they talk about the creation through the Adam and Eve story. And as per the story, Adam and Eve were told not to procreate. They were told not to eat that apple, and then they were told not to procreate. Actually, according to the Adam and Eve story, the God's desire was that he wanted only 2 people in the whole universe. That means Adam and Eve. According to the psychology of God presented in that Bible through the Adam and Eve story, God wanted only 2 people to be the population of the world. And God considered the act of procreation between Adam and Eve as a sin, actually. According to the story, it was considered as a sin. But according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Brahma wanted to increase the population, and here when Daksha is wanting to increase the population, and Krishna is telling to Brahma that my mercy to you would increase, Varshiyan Madanugraha. And Krishna is telling to Daksha, I am very pleased with you. One commentator says that I am Ati Pritosmi. I am very pleased with you. So we can see the stark contrast between the psychology of God presented in the Bible and the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. And even in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Dharmo aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarsha. When the act of procreation is performed according to the religious principles, I am that kama. I am that kama. Unlike the Adam and Eve story, in which that act of procreation is considered as a sin. So this is another thing we can contrast. And even like Prabhupada also highlights this point in the purport. If you see one point, I'll quote. If one begets children with the purpose of training them to surrender to Krishna, fatherhood is very good. And similarly, when the spiritual master trains the conditioned souls to become Krishna conscious, his position is successful. So, therefore, even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vidura is asking a question to Maitreya Rishi. Swayambhuvascha manor vamsha parama sammataha katyatam bhagavan yatra maitunena dire prajaha. The lion of Swayambhu Manu is most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race, whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. So here, Vidura is a renunciant who is on a pilgrimage tour. Maitreya Rishi is another renunciant, a sage. But Vidura is asking a question to Maitreya Rishi. Please give me an account of the race of Swayambhu Manu, whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. So that means when a person procreates children with the right purpose, for the purpose of training them in Krishna consciousness, how much ever he may beget children, that is actually a great service to the society. Yeah. That is appreciated by even the renunciants like Vidura and Maitreya. So Vidura was not simply interested in hearing the history of the persons who merely engaged in sex life, but he was interested in the progeny of Swayambhu Manu, because in the dynasty, great devotee kings appeared. So therefore he says that Vamsha Parama Sammataha, that means his dynasty is most esteemed. It was most approved by the great authorities. So that just like when the say sannyasis, the devotees, so when they want to increase the number of devotees by spreading Krishna consciousness, the Lord is very pleased with those devotees, because that is also the Lord's desire. The Lord wants the number of devotees should increase. But the Lord takes pleasure in having with the loving devotees, and in Hare Krishna. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So I didn't notice. Yeah, whenever required, you can stop the video. So, just like the Lord's desire is that the devotee should increase, therefore the devotees are engaged in increasing the number of devotees. Because the more the number of devotees are there, the more pleasure Lord will get. Therefore, the devotees want to increase the number of devotees. Therefore, they teach Krishna consciousness to others. So similarly, when the here Prabhupada says that when a devotee is procreating children for the purpose of training them in Krishna consciousness, for the purpose of making them devotees, then the Lord is very pleased with that, and that we see in the question asked by Vidura to Maitreya Rishi. And so Prabhupada says that the Krishna consciousness movement is not a cult, it's not a fad. But it's a bona fide movement, because the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement also the same as the purpose of Daksha Prajapati. Daksha Prajapati is procreating children. And the purpose of procreation is ultimately to liberate the living entities and to send them back to God. And the Krishna consciousness movement is directly engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness. Daksha Prajapati is doing the step before that by giving the material bodies to the living entities according to their karma. Only when they get the bodies, then they get an opportunity to perform bhakti. Of course, some may get a body of animals according to their karma, but in due course, some may get the bodies of the some may get the bodies of animals or plants or trees or aquatics. But in due course, sound is coming. But in due course, even those living entities who get the lower species bodies, they will get an opportunity for human form, and they will get an opportunity to perform bhakti. So because so Krishna consciousness, Daksha Prajapati is also performing Lord's service, but he is performing a service. He's not performing the direct service of preaching Krishna consciousness, but is by providing them a material body, he is giving them an opportunity to perfect their life. And a sadhu or a devotee is directly engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness, but Prabhupada is equating almost, because he's considering in the purport, he's equating both the services almost on the same level, and the purpose is same. Even when a person procreates children with that purpose in mind, that service is also like direct preaching. In that way only Prabhupada is writing the purport. The spiritual master training the disciples to become Krishna conscious, or the parents begetting children with the purpose of training them. So Prabhupada is equating both the services almost on the same level. So therefore he quotes the verses from the 18th chapter. And even the second canto also, when Brahmaji performed tapasya with the purpose of, with the desire to increase the population, the desire to perform the creation service, at that time the Lord appeared and Lord became pleased with Brahmaji, and then he shook hands with Brahma. Tam priyamanam samupastitam kavim praja visarge nija shasanarhanam babashayishat smitashocisha gira priyam pritamana kare sprishan. So the Lord tam priyamanam samupastitam kavim, seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him shasana arhanam, accepted him as a worthy to create living beings, nija shasana arhanam, to be controlled as he desired. Praja visarge nija shasana arhanam. Accepted. He considered Brahma is a eligible person to create this universe, and therefore, being satisfied with him, Babasha Ishat Smita Shochisha Gira. He smiled at Brahma lovingly, and with a pleasing mind, he addressed Brahma. And Kare Sprishan, he touched Brahmaji's hands. Prabhupada says that Lord shook hands with Brahma. Kare Sprishan, he shook hands. So here also Prabhupada says that Brahmaji performs two services. One is a managerial service, and another is a service as the founder of a sampradaya, Brahma sampradaya. As a managerial service, he is performing the service of creation by giving the opportunity to the conditioned souls to get a as a managerial service. He is performing the service of material body. And as the founder of the Brahma Sampradaya, and he is engaged in reclaiming the fallen souls by propagating the spiritual knowledge through the Guru Parampara. So just like some devotees have in that way, managerial service and direct preaching service, both are done by Brahma. So Prabhupada says, because Brahma is taking up the responsibility to become the creator, and also as a founder of a sampradaya, the Lord is very pleased with Brahma. And not only Brahma, any person in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, or in any of the bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya, any person who tries to preach the message of Krishna, who tries to distribute books, any person who tries to do that, such a person, Lord will be pleased with such a person also. And just like Lord shook hands with Brahma, any person, according to his capacity, if he tries to distribute books, according to his capacity, if he tries to preach, the Lord will shake hands with that devotee also. So in this way, Prabhupada is writing a beautiful purport. Anyone, however, preaching the message of the Lord in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord. And the Lord, being satisfied with such a preacher of the authorized bhakti cult, shakes hands with him in the great satisfaction. So essentially, we see that Daksha Prajapati's, one should make the Lord's desire as same as one's desire. That is what the surrender means. So Krishna's desire is that he wants more and more people to become devotees. And when we make that desire as our own desire, and that is the way to actually touch the heart of Krishna. It's the way to please Krishna. And also another another actually discussion comes in the Vedanta Sutra, in the Upanishads. what is the purpose of the Lord's creation of this world? So two purposes are mentioned: Leela Rasam and Bhoga Rasam. What is Leela Rasam? Leela Rasa. Leela Rasa. Purpose of the Lord Leela Rasa. Master wants to see the mad activities of a servant and laughs at the mad activities of the servant. So that pleasure which a master obtains is called as a Leela Rasa. Or for example, a very prosperous king, he goes to a garden and he plays with a ball or he plays a dice. So by playing with a ball or playing with a dice, he's not going to achieve anything. He plays just for the sake of experiencing the ananda which comes at that time. So Leela means a person, we perform an action only to experience the rasa which comes at that time. So the Lord actually, so the Upanishads describe that the Lord creates this world to experience Leela Rasa in order to experience the Ananda which comes at that time. In the sense, by seeing the mad activities of the conditioned souls, the Lord takes pleasure. It is not like some kind of a whimsical thing. This is like a. It's not like a. One should not think Krishna as a whimsical dictator. But this is also mentioned. The Lord actually creates the world with for the sake of enjoying Leela Rasa. Another reason is that the Lord wants to experience Bhoga Rasa. Bhoga Rasa means that when the master sees the servants working properly, the master gets pleasure. So similarly, when the Lord sees, when the Bhagavan sees that the devotees, the living entities are performing bhakti unto him, when they are performing sharanagati, when they are surrendering unto him, the Bhagavan gets a pleasure, takes pleasure with the service of the devotees. So these are the two reasons for Bhagavan to create this world, Leela Rasa and Bhoga Rasa. The Lord takes pleasure in seeing the mad activities of the living entities, and the Lord takes pleasure when the living entities surrender unto him. So one may also say that the Lord is creating so many different types of bodies for different living entities. So it appears that the Lord is partial. Lord is partial. Why he gives somebody human body, somebody he gives animal body, why he gives somebody birth and why does he give somebody birth in a poor family? So for that, the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra says that actually Lord is not partial. Vaishamye Nairgranyastat. And there's a sutra which comes that the Lord does not have any partiality towards any living entities. The Lord actually creates the world only according to the karmas of the living entities. Just like a government makes common arrangements for different industries to function. For example, for the different businesses to function, there is a particular, say, economic zone. There are different industrial zone, economic zone, or a software theme park, or IT park. Like that, the government creates different areas for different companies to put up their offices and do their business. And some companies, they get profits. Some companies go in loss. So, but is the government responsible for the profit and loss of the individual companies? No. The profits and loss of the individual companies is because of the decisions made by the owners of the company. Although the government makes common arrangements for all the industries, but the Government is not responsible for the profits and loss of the individual industries. So similarly, the Lord creates all the different bodies of the living entities, but the Lord is not responsible for the sufferings of the different living entities. The Lord is not responsible for why the different living entities have got different types of bodies. The living entities themselves are responsible. The Lord creates the bodies according to their karmas. So, like among the two things, Leela Rasa and Bhoga Rasa. So, the Lord creates this world for the purpose of Leela Rasa and Bhoga Rasa. So, among the two things, what does the Lord, which rasa does the Lord get to experience maximum? Among the two things, the Lord gets to experience the Leela Rasa maximum. He gets a chance to experience Bhoga Rasa in comparison to Leela Rasa very little. So there is Pradhana and Prachura. So Pradhana means mainly. Pradhana and Prachura. So the Lord's main desire to create a material world is that he wants to experience Bhoga Rasa. That means he wants to see that the living entities surrender to him and perform bhakti to him. Engage in loving devotional service to him. This is the Lord's main desire, that is to experience Bhoga Rasa. But what he gets to experience mainly is he gets to experience only the Leela Rasa. He only experiences Leela Rasa in Prachura Matra. Prachura Matra, there are two words, Pradhana and Prachura. The main desire of the Lord is to experience Bhoga Rasa. But what he experiences mainly is Leela Rasa. That means he only gets to see the mad activities of the living entities in rebellion against him in the material world. Because out of the millions and millions of living entities, hardly one living entity surrenders to him. Manushyanam sahasreshu kashchit yatati siddhaye yatatam apisiddhanam kashchinmam veti tatpatah. Among thousands of people, one endeavors for perfection. One endeavors for a goal beyond the material world. Out of those people, hardly one knows me in truth. Muktanam apisiddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Prashantatma Kotishvapi Mahamune. Among Muktanam apisiddhanam, even among the Muktas, there is hardly one person who is completely surrendered to Narayana. Sudurlabha Prashantatma, such a person who is completely surrendered to Narayana is very rare, and he is the one who is completely peaceful. And Sudurlabha Prashantatma Kotishvapi Mahamuni, such a person is 1 in 1 crore. So therefore, although the Lord creates this material world with the main desire to experience Bhoga Rasa, that means he wants everyone to become Narayana Parayana. But what he gets to taste mainly is that he gets to taste mainly Leela Rasa. Because most of the living entities, they are absorbed in the rebellion towards Krishna. And that is why if you read in the purport, what does Prabhupada say in the purport? Prabhupada says, he quotes Chaitanya Charitamrita. That Kabu Swarge Utaya, Kabu Narake Dubaya, the conditioned soul sometimes descends into nescience and sometimes gets some relief by being relatively freed from it. This is the life of a conditioned soul. So most of the time, conditioned soul they are basically they are going in that giant wheel. They are going to Swargaloka, Siddhaloka, Janaloka, Narakaloka. They are simply going round and round within the material world. So the Lord gets to, just like for example, suppose a person joins a company, he takes up a job. So his desire is that he wants to do a job in which he can do some research. He wants to do some, like his proclivities, he wants to do some research kind of a job. But with that purpose, he joins the company. But the company engages in some routine work. But the amount of research work the company gives him is very little. So this is what pradhana. But the amount of research, the person's main desire wants to do pradhana. But what the company is that tells him to do some marketing, company organization of the accounts. They tell him to do some supervise market. And what he get, the creative work which he gets to do is something very little. Like sometimes, suppose, like it may be the case with many this thing. Suppose a person the person joins, say, some university or college. Suppose a person joins, say, IIT or some college with the purpose of doing, he gets a degree also. And then his purpose is that he wants to get a particular, do some work in a particular field. But ultimately, and then he may get a job also, and then ultimately when he joins the company in due course of time, he ends up doing simply some management work. What he studied, he might have studied a particular subject, but what he is working, his initial aspiration was that he wants to work in that particular line. With that purpose in mind, he took that particular field. And then, but later, many years down the line, when he realizes, I joined that degree with that particular purpose in mind, but what I am getting to do work is very little. I am getting to do very little work in that particular field. Most of the time, I am just engaged in some management. So that is how the Lord also experiences. He creates the world with the primary desire to experience Bhoga Rasa. That means he wants the living entities to engage in devotional service. But what he gets to experience really is mainly in Prachura Matra is that he gets to experience only Leela Rasa, because most of the living entities are continuing their madness in rebellion against Krishna. So, in the case of Daksha Prajapati, so it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Krishna says to Uddhava, Yoga Trayo Maya Prokta Nrinam Shreyo Viditsaya Jnanam Karmacha Bhaktischa Nopayonyosti Kutrachit. So Krishna says that, my dear Uddhava, because I desire that human beings may achieve perfection, I have presented three paths of advancement. The path of impersonal knowledge, the path of fruity work, and the path of devotion. Jnanam, karmacha, bhaktischa. Apart from these three paths, there is no other path. There is absolutely no other means of elevation. So Krishna has created three paths: the path of fruity work, the path of impersonal knowledge, and the path of bhakti. So Daksha Prajapati is interested with the path of fruity work. The four Kumaras, they are interested with the propagation of the personal knowledge, the Jnana Marga. And Narada Muni is interested with the responsibility of propagating the Bhakti Marga. That's why Narada Muni is called as the father of devotional service by Prabhupada. I think one of the quotes the 6th canto only. So Daksha Prajapati is in charge of the path of fruity work. Because why 3 paths are given? Because the living entities in this world, they have different adhikars. Not everyone will be having the adhikara for practicing bhakti. So even for those people, for them to gradually get elevated, Krishna has given 2 other paths, the path of fruity work, and when the person becomes frustrated with the path of fruity work, he may take to the path of Jnana Marga. And then when he gets the opportunity, when he gets the mercy of the devotees, he gets the opportunity to practice Bhakti Marga. So Daksha Prajapati, in the 4th canto, 7th chapter, there also in the Lord appeared in the sacrificial arena of Daksha. We know the Daksha Yajna, how Lord Shiva's followers killed Daksha, and later when the Brahma and the Devatas, they pacified Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva, he restored Daksha, but he restored Daksha with a goat's head. And then later all the sacrificial arena got purified, and then again the sacrifice started, and then Lord Vishnu appeared. At that time, Daksha offers prayers to Vishnu. Shuddham swadam uparata kila buddhyavastam chinmatramekam abhayam pratisiddhyamayam tishtam stayaiva purushatvam upetya tasyam aste bhavan aparishuddha yivatma tantraha. So Daksha said that you are one alone, ekam. You are fearless. You are fearless. Shuddham, you are pure. And you are consciousness alone. And beyond all material intelligence. And devoid of Maya. And you are situated in your spiritual abode. And accepting the role of the Purushavatara along with Maya within the material world, you remain independent. Although you appear contaminated with material qualities. So when Daksha is offering this prayer, Daksha, he still had a material conception of the Lord's form. This is pointed out by the Vishnu Chakravarti. Daksha is telling to the Lord, taking the role of a human, you appear to be impure, contaminated with material attachment within Maya, when taking the forms like Krishna or Ram. So when Krishna's father-in-law, that is Krishna's father-in-law, that is Satyavama's father, Satrajit died. So at that time, when Krishna heard that news, Krishna started crying with the tears. This is a great tragedy for us. Our father-in-law has died. So Krishna, he actually played just like a human. He behaved just like an ordinary human being, and he lamented by showing his affection for by showing his affection towards his father-in-law by shedding tears. But Daksha is saying that, but this Lord Shiva, he doesn't know how to behave properly as a human being. You know how to behave properly as a human being. You showed affection towards your father-in-law by shedding tears when your father-in-law died. But the Lord Shiva, he did not show affection towards his father-in-law, that is me. He did not show respect towards me when I entered the assembly. So when Daksha is offering this prayer to Vishnu, indirectly he is scornfully glancing at Shiva. By saying that this Shiva, although he begged forgiveness to Shiva a few verses before, but still he maintained some negative attitude towards Lord Shiva. That is what is indicated in this verse. He, by glancing scornfully at Shiva, committed an offense, and thus even after the offense was annulled, he had a material conception of the Lord's form. So therefore, he says that you take a human form. The Lord takes a human form. So why I'm mentioning this verse is that Daksha Prajapati, when he offered this prayer to Vishnu, he also indirectly made a sarcastic comment towards Lord Shiva. And Daksha was sarcastic towards Lord Shiva when he is offering prayers to Lord Vishnu. That means he is saying that you know how to actually behave like a human being. You shed tears when your father-in-law died. But this Lord Shiva does not know how to show respect to his father-in-law. That way, indirectly gave a sarcastic comment. Like sometimes when we give Bhagavatam class, what is the purpose of Bhagavatam class is to glorify Krishna. But sometimes in the Bhagavatam class, one may give some indirect commentary towards somebody present in the assembly. Some managerial agenda may also come. There was one, someone devotee was sharing that in some particular place, I don't know even the name of the place actually. So one devotee, like somewhat a senior devotees, elderly also, and so they developed a desire that okay, at this point, so we have spent many years in Krishna consciousness. Now we have developed a desire to do a systematic study of the Prabhupada's books. So therefore, we are thinking of joining this Bhakti Shastri course, maybe probably in Mayapur or Vrindavan, like that. So they went to take permission of the temple president that we want to join this Bhakti Shastri course. At this point, we want to do some systematic study of the Prabhupada's books. Like that, they told. And then later, I don't know immediately what the temple president replied, but later that Sunday feast program came. And usually it seems that maybe at that time or something, the Sunday feast would be always given only by the temple president. And the temple president, in the Sunday feast class was speaking. So when you come to the spiritual world, when you come to the doors of the spiritual world, the Vishnu Dutas will ask you, did you assist your temple president in the management of the temple, or did you go to some Mayapur or Vrindavan to study Bhakti Shastri, leaving your service of assisting the temple president? And if you say that you went to Mayapur or Vrindavan to do Bhakti Shastri, then the Vishnu Dutas will say that okay, you are not qualified to enter Vaikuntha. Like that, the devotee spoke in the class. So why I'm giving the example is that sometimes somebody may speak in the Bhagavatam class, but at the same time, one may make some sarcastic comment towards somebody present in that assembly, or some management agenda may come. So something like that, something similar, Daksha Prajapati did when he is offering this prayer. Daksha Prajapati was glorifying Vishnu, but at the same time he was making a sarcastic comment towards Lord Shiva. And Vishnu Chakrutipad says that Daksha Prajapati did not accept that the form, that this form of the Lord in front of his eyes was transcendental. Daksha Prajapati had a material conception of the Lord's form. So one may get the question, why that the Lord gave his darshan to Daksha Prajapati, who did not have a transcendental conception of the Lord's form, who made a sarcastic comment towards Lord Shiva. On the other hand, there are many pure devotees, sincere devotees. The Lord does not give his darshan to the devotees who believe in his transcendental beautiful form, unless they come to the platform of Bhava Bhakti or Prema Bhakti. But the Lord gave his darshan to Daksha Prajapati, who did not have a complete transcendental conception of the Lord's form, who made a sarcastic comment towards Lord Shiva also, but Lord gave his darshan to him. So why did the Lord do like that? One may get a question. The answer is that the Daksha Prajapati is not a pure devotee. He is the authority, or he is in charge of the path of the Karma Kanda, the path of fruity work. And the path of Karma Kanda, the path of fruity work, is also propounded by Krishna himself. I already quoted that verse from the Bhagavatam 11th canto. The Lord propagated 3 paths. So Daksha Prajapati, he believes mainly in the path of Karmakanda section of the Vedas and is devoted to that. And because of that, he is unable to understand the glories of bhakti. And the Lord appeared in the Daksha Yajna, the 4th canto, and also here in the 6th canto, because Daksha Prajapati followed the path of Karmakanda properly. But it does not mean that Daksha got the blessings, Daksha got the highest blessings of Vishnu. He got material benefits, not spiritual benefits. And because the path of Karmakanda is also propounded by Krishna, and because Daksha Prajapati is devoted to that, therefore the Lord gave his darshan to him. So on the path of Karmakanda, he is highly advanced. So when people like Daksha, when they see the form of Bhagavan, they do not see his actual form. They see the Bhagavan's form as per their own conception. Just as the people in the Kamsa's wrestling arena, they saw Krishna's form according to their own conception. Mallanam ashanir nrinam naravaro Strinam smaro murtiman Gopanam swajano satam Shritibhuja Shasta swapitro shisho Mrityor bojapater virada vidusham Tattvam param yoginam. Last line I forget. So in that particular verse, that 10th canto, when Krishna entered the wrestling arena, different people experienced different rasa with Krishna. In fact, some of the wrestlers, they saw Krishna like a thunderbolt. Some yogis considered Krishna to be like a universal form or as a Paramatma. Kamsa saw Krishna as a death personified. So similarly, Daksha Prajapati saw Krishna according to his own conception. He did not have a transcendental conception of the Lord's form. So therefore, that even the 3rd canto, the section on creation, when Brahma was empowered with the Supreme Lord, he meditated on creating progeny. So the 10 sons who were causes of expanding the path appeared. What are the 10 sons? Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrugu, Vasishta, Daksha, and the 10th son, Narada, appeared. So, among the 10 sons, Marichi and others, they appeared as representatives of Karma Yoga, except for Narada Muni. Apart from Narada Muni, the other 9 sons, they appeared as representatives of Karma Yoga, Jnana, representatives of the path of Karma Yoga, Jnana, Vairagya, Tapasya, etc. And all these paths, Karma Yoga, Jnana, Vairagya, Tapasya, all these paths become successful by the performance of Bhakti. Because Bhakti, all the processes are dependent on Bhakti. On the other hand, Bhakti is not dependent on these processes. Therefore, Bhakti is represented at the end and appeared in the form of Narada. So Narada means one who gives Dasya, Sakya, and other relationships with the Lord. One who gives the Dasya Bhakti, Sakya Bhakti, etc. One who gives this Bhakti to Krishna to others. That is what the Narada means. So therefore, Prabhupada says in the purport Only the transcendental loving service of the Lord can deliver the real goal of life, and thus the service rendered by Srimad Narada Muni is the highest among all the sons of Brahma. So Narada Muni is given charge of the path of Bhakti Yoga, and in the second canto, 10th chapter, I think 10th or 8th chapter it is mentioned. Daksha Pradapati is given charge of the path of Karma Kanda, and the Chatushkumaras are given charge of the path of Jnana Marga. And the service of Narada Muni is the highest among all the paths. The path of Karma Kanda is ultimately for the purpose of elevating the living entities to the path of Bhakti Yoga. But Daksha Prajapati, he was completely devoted to Karma Kanda. We will see later in the next chapter some of the mistakes performed by Daksha Prajapati that will come in the next chapter. These are some points which I wanted to discuss today. So, to summarize, we discussed about Lord expressing pleasure towards Daksha Prajapati, expressing pleasure towards Brahma because they want to increase the population. We discussed about the purpose of creation. We also compared the psychology of God presented in the Bible with the psychology that God presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we also discussed that the purpose of the creation is Bhoga Rasa and Leela Rasa. Bhoga Rasa is the main desire of the Lord to create, and but what he gets to experience mainly is the Leela Rasa, Pradhana and Prachura. Pradhana and Prachura. And we discussed about Daksha Prajapati from the 4th canto, how Daksha Prajapati, he had when he offered prayers to Vishnu, he had a somewhat medial conception of the Lord's form. He also made a sarcastic remark towards Lord Shiva. And the Lord appeared towards Daksha Prajapati because Daksha Prajapati was devoted to Karma Kanda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the beautiful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful. You told the point that Krishna wants us to stay happy. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, if you have time, can we go ahead in the question and answer session?
Yes.
So, dear devotees, if anybody has any questions,
you can take questions.
Okay, Prabhu. Our senior devotee, Sukhakara Krishna Das Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Hare Krishna. Nandapuram, Radhika, Prabhu. Fantastic class. I got one question. Prabhu, Prabhu, actually, there are Nitya Mukta and Nitya Bhakta devotees. Now, those who are all eternally liberated and eternally devotees. So, is it all of us were already eternally liberated, or we became Nitya Bhakta, or there are a set of people, devotees who are already Nitya Muktas, and they are remaining always Nitya Mukta? And once we go back home, back to God, still we remain in Nitya Bhakta or Nitya Mukta? Because there is already a separate category. Krishna is doing partial. But some people he has kept a Nitya Mukta and some people are Nitya Bhakta. So can you just explain on that point? How is it comes? Is it that once you go there again, you can fall in again, fall back? Or what about those people who are all Nitya Mukta, they will never get spoiled? Or is it everybody will just keep going and coming depending on the desire for enjoying separately? I wanted just some clarification on that point.
Yeah, we are all actually Nitya Bhaddhas. So there are Nitya Muktas, Nitya Bhaddhas, and Sadhana Siddhas. Nitya Siddha, Nitya Mukta, Sadhana Siddha. So Nitya Siddha devotees are those who are eternally present in the spiritual world. And the Nitya Bhaddhas are those who are eternally conditioned. But when the eternally conditioned souls, when they take to the path of Bhakti, they start their journey, and then by the practice of sadhana bhakti, and then by the mercy of the Lord, they become perfect. They become sadhana siddha, and they go to the spiritual world and never to again return to the material world. So So we are all eternally conditioned life is beginningless. Nitya Baddha means it is not that there was a beginning. Because since beginningless time we were in material world. Conditioned life is beginningless, but it is not endless. It is not endless because when a person takes to bhakti, conditioned life comes to an end. Our liberated life has a beginning, but it is endless. Liberated life, when a person takes to the path of bhakti, the liberated life begins. And once he achieves perfection, once a person goes beyond the material world, then the liberated life is endless. So, to understand that, why certain living entities are nitya siddhas, why some living entities are nitya baddhas, so it seems there is a partiality in the Lord. These are the achintya, these are the inconceivable things in the world. So we cannot see there is a partiality in the Lord. That is why the living entities are there in the material world because the Lord is experiencing Leela Rasa through the living entities. But there is no partiality in the Lord. This is something inconceivable truths. So we the living entities, we never came from the spiritual world. We are nitya baddhas. We are in the material world since time immemorial. But once a person takes to bhakti, will go to the spiritual world, never to return again to the material world.
Well, one of the lectures, some Maharaj, I don't remember, he was saying that we were all there only, but we all started envying Krishna. We wanted to, separately enjoy. That's why Krishna created this material called Durg. Durg means Jain. And then Durga Devi is the person who is taking, lady sing. So, is it that we were there and we came here because we all envied Krishna, or we were here only? That also, it was told. So I want to know whether that was right. That
no, there is no Shastrik Pramana for that actually. No, there is no Shastrik Pramana for the living entity to come from spiritual world to here. If you see Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And what is the last verse of the Vedanta Sutra? Anavritti Shabdat, Anavritti Shabdat. This is the last sutra. You take any commentary, whether Advaita commentary, Advaita commentary, any commentary you may take on this particular verse, Anavritti Shabdat, Anavritti Shabdat. The meaning of the verse is that once a person attains liberation, he will never return to the material world. So because Bhagavatam is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavatam can never go against the Vedanta Sutra. And if we read the Bhagavad Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami gives 9 characteristics, 7 or 9 characteristics of the spiritual world. So maybe I'll just I'll read the exact word of Jiva Goswami. The Bhagavad Sandarbha, Bhagavad Sandarbha, exact Anucheda. So actually, in the Shad Sandarbha, he gives 9 characteristics of the Holy Dham. So in that, one of the characteristics he mentions, in fact, one of the characteristics he mentions is that Tam Labdavatam Askalana Guna Satmyena Stuyate. That means it is glorified as having the quality of never allowing the fall down of its residents. Askalana Guna Satmyena Stuyate. Tam Labdavatam. So in support of this verse, Jiva Goswami quotes many Bhagavatam verses as a pramana. 3rd canto, 25th chapter from Kapila Dev's teachings. 4th canto, 12th chapter, in Dhruva Maharaj, when he is going back to God, there is a verse which comes like Achyuta Padam. That means spiritual world is that place from where nobody falls. And Bhagavad Gita, Yad Gatvana Nivartanti Tadama Paramam Mama. And Yam Prapyana Nivartanti Tadama Paramam Mama. 8th chapter Gita. So there are so many verses which have a very clear, unambiguous, straightforward Shastric Pramana that nobody falls from the spiritual world. Nobody falls in the spiritual world. In fact, in the 5th chapter, when Krishna speaks about Atma Sakshatkara, Tad Buddhayas Tadatmanas Tannishta Tatparayana, Gacchant Apunaravrittim Jnana Nirduta Kalmasha. So here, Krishna in the 5th chapter, he is talking about the gradual process of performing Karma Yoga and then meditation on Atma and then attaining Atma Sakshatkara. Atma Sakshatkara, a person starts meditating on the Paramatma and then a person attains Bhagavan and Vaikuntha. So in this particular verse, 5.18, 5.19 or something, Tadbuddhatmanas. So here he says that even when a person attains Atma Sakshatkara, Gachanti Apunaravritti, one never falls from that position of Atma Sakshatkara. Atma Sakshatkara is a step even before Paramatma Sakshatkara. It is a step before even attaining Vaikuntha. So even from Atma Sakshatkara, according to the words of Krishna, one never falls down. So how will a person fall down from Vaikuntha? And I already quoted many verses, and there are many more verses in this one. So therefore, one never falls from the liberated state. One never falls from the Vaikuntha. So there is no Shastrik Pramana for that. So we are all Nitya Baddhas. We are eternally conditioned. But once a person takes to Bhakti, the conditioned life comes to an end and liberated life begins. And when liberated life, person becomes mature, the liberated life is endless, never to again return to the material world. Yeah, sometimes the associates of the Lord come from the spiritual world to the material world, but that is not a fall down. Like Jaya Vijay coming to the material world, that is not a fall down.
That's a Leela.
Okay. Is it clear?
So Prabhu, one more thing now, you said, that means once we go from here to there, so we become Nitya Mukta or we'll still remain in Nitya Baddha also. When we go back after realization, self-realization, when we go back to God, is it that category changes from Nitya Baddha to Nitya Mukta?
We are no more Nitya. We become Sadhana Siddha. So Nitya Siddhas, we once we go to the spiritual world, we are no more Nitya Baddhas. But we become basically sadhana siddhas. And on a practical level, like sometimes one devotee asked Prabhupada that are you a sadhana siddha, are you a nitya siddha? Or that means like, are you an eternal associate of Krishna? Or something like, or the devotee asked something like that, should we accept a guru who is a nitya siddha, or should we accept a guru who is a sadhana siddha? And Prabhupada gave that answer. You will find, I think, Tamal Krishna Maharaj's book. There is one book. In that book, Prabhupada says that how does it matter? Suppose a person becomes a billionaire, somebody may be a born billionaire because of inheriting the property of his father. And somebody else, he may have from the worked hard and he became a millionaire. In both cases, ultimately both are billionaires and they have the potential to give charity to you. So similarly, somebody may be a guru, he may be a Nitya Siddha, and somebody may be a Sadhana Siddha Guru. Yeah, definitely Nitya Siddha Gurus are Nitya Siddha associates of the Lord are very elevated. But Prabhupada, in that letter, he was giving that point because this devotee was more calculating. Maybe Sadhana Siddha Guru is inferior, Nitya Siddha Guru is superior. From his own material conception, he was trying to calculate. So Prabhupada said, how does it matter? Somebody is a billionaire, born billionaire, or somebody who became a billionaire? Both are ultimately billionaires. Similarly, when the Sadhana Siddha devotee, once they attain perfection, even they can also award Krishna Prem to anybody because they have become perfect. And Nitya Siddhas also can award perfection. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for that beautiful question and beautiful answer. Prabhuji, there is one more question from Priti Vilasini Mataji. Please, Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for the very beautiful class, as always. Prabhu, my question was, I just wanted to again go back to that verse where in the prayers, Daksha talks about that the Lord taking a form, an incarnation where he behaves like an ordinary human being. So where do I go for that verse, Prabhu? I couldn't. I was trying to trace it. I couldn't.
That is 4.7.26.
4.7.
4.7.26. We can
But
read
not a
Vishnu
part of this
Chakotip's comment.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
This is from the fourth canto, 4.7.26. You can. I spoke from the Vishnu Chakotip's commentary.
I got it.
To that particular verse.
Oh, so this is not from the Hamsa Guhya prayers. It was earlier that he did it. Okay.
In his earlier incarnation.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, do you have any more time for question?
Yes.
Prabhuji, there is one more question from Anuradha Devi Dasi. Please, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, on the point you were saying that we try to, get our things straightened through Vyasasan. And I somehow feel guilty of it too. But Prabhuji, it may not be intentional. I mean, will it still be aparad? And also, sometimes with some devotees, I would say younger ones, it gets so difficult to make them understand things. I mean, even if I put it right across in the straight words, they don't get it. Like, sometimes maybe they might be doing something like, standing right in between Narsimha Arti or something like that. And even if I tell them or we tell them straight away, they don't get it. And maybe it's with the intention, no envy, nothing, like not to get any, not to get anything else, but either for the concern for the temple or for the devotee himself or herself, we might say things from the Vyasasan. Will it still be aparad, Prabhu?
No, it's not. Saying with a good intention. I just gave that, like sometimes when a person makes a sarcastic remark, for that I mentioned. Yeah, sometimes, especially you are in the position of a leader, responsible position, we need to correct people for the good of the person, the intention. So you are doing that, there is nothing wrong in that. Prabhupada would do when some devotees went to Prabhupada and they complained about certain Western disciples of Prabhupada in Bombay. They are actually going by taxi every time from one place to another place. They are spending money. And then Prabhupada told them that, why don't you see that they have left the comforts of the West and they are living in austere conditions in India. They have made so much of sacrifice to come to India, live in a foreign culture. And like that, Prabhupada told those devotees to appreciate the sacrifice of the Western disciples. And then in the Vyasasan, next day, Prabhupada gave the Bhagavatam class. In the Vyasasan, Prabhupada gave a general point about how we should be very careful using the money for Krishna's service. We should not use money for our own sense gratification. Like that, he gave a general lesson, and that way he passed on the message to everyone also. At the same time, he also told those devotees who complained he told them to appreciate those devotees, to see the good in them. So sometimes, it may have to be done. Of course, when it is done with a good intention, then that it's not a problem. But here I'm saying the sarcastic remark some Daksha Prajapati was making. He was offering praise at the same time he had a sarcastic. He also wanted to give some message to Lord Shiva. So I just remembered that one devotee was sharing this experience when he's interacting with some devotees. So I gave that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I recently watched that video that you were mentioning about Srila Prabhupada memory. It is Yashodanandan Prabhu. Yes, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the beautiful answer. And Mataji, thank you very much for the beautiful question. Prabhuji, there is one more question in the chat box. Shall we ask? Yes, Prabhuji. This is coming from Mataji.
If one gives the conditioned souls a chance to become whom? Induleka Mataji or Sukha
Yes,
Mataji?
Yes.
The Bhogarasa aspect of Krishna makes it appear that Krishna is an autocrat. How can we Bhogarasa aspect of Krishna? Bhogarasa, what I mentioned was that Krishna wants to experience Bhogarasa because he wants to experience the loving exchanges with the living entities. So because that Krishna knows that the living entities constitutional position, their Swarupa is Nitya Krishna Dasa, and Krishna knows that that is the way by which the living entities will also experience ultimate satisfaction when they are situated in that position. And ultimately, Krishna is looking for that love. As a person, he is looking for the loving, he wants to experience loving exchange. Therefore, that's what he's looking for. He wants to experience Bhogarasa with more and more people. And he knows that the living entities will also experience the real satisfaction, the complete satisfaction, only when they are situated in their Swarup. So that way only we can understand. It's not a... And of course, Krishna is the supreme autocrat. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates Krishna as the supreme autocrat, the Brahma Samhita. There is one comment which is written, Induleka Karuna Devi Mataji. If one gives the conditioned souls a chance to become Krishna conscious, all his activities are approved with the Supreme Personality of God, which is extremely pleased stated here. Following the examples of the previous areas, all the members of the Krishna conscious movement should. Mataji has quoted the purport here. Right. So shall we stop here?
Yes. Thank you very much for the beautiful class, Prabhuji. Are there any more questions, devotees? Okay, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, then with your permission, we can end the call here, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, let's pay our obeisances to Prabhuji.
Radhika Vallabha Prabhu ji ki jai.
Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai Gauranga.
Nityananda. Nityananda.
Hari Hari
Gauranga.
Bol.
Nitai. Radhe Radhe. Krishna Radhika Mataji. Krishna Mataji. And Prabhu Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, dear devotees. We'll end the call here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Radhika Mataji. Beelavanti Mataji.
Hare Bol.
Krishna.
Hare blessings.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vrenda Gopika Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Radhika. Hare Krishna. Oh, frozen.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Hare Krishna. Vrenda Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vinita Gadret Mataji.
Window close.
Thank you, Mataji. Please, we can end the call.
Yes.
Shyama Gauri Mataji.